I think YouTube was just beginning, and Instagram didn't exist yet. So it's been a really interesting journey supporting people in using these channels to reach people, and also then how the tech has changed and how that's affected our relationship with it.
What's your biggest tip to help people make connections on the airwaves? Because some say that social media can actually be quite isolating, but I find the opposite. But it depends on how what you set your intention and how you choose to use it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like anything. It's a tool, so it really is up to us as to how we choose to use it, how we engage with it. It has it definitely has the potential to be isolating. I think when we're suffering from low self-esteem, when we're dealing with a lot of comparison, and we see these perfect, pretty grids where everyone seems to be succeeding and making millions and flying off around the world and in amazing relationships, and you don't have those things, it can make you want to shut the door and not leave the house. So, and it can also, I used to watch a program called Catfish, where people would pretend to be somebody else in order to connect with others because they didn't have that belief in themselves. So they were almost, literally pretending to be another person. And that can only be isolating. But the technology gives us the opportunity to do that.
Would you suggest then that if someone's got low self-esteem, to advise people to notice what social media is making them feel, because actually that's not necessarily about social media, that's about something deeper that needs attention?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tuning in and thinking, is this lighting me up or is this dragging me down? And assessing what social media, what it's triggering inside of you, both, I would say, like physical sensations, but also emotions and feelings and thoughts that arise when you spend time online.
Talk to me about, I love the term that you use, social media soul. And that is the opposite to what you talk about, in that there is a social media ego.
Yeah, the social media ego versus the social media soul. Do you want me to read you the poem?
Yeah.
For that one, let me just find it. But yeah, in a nutshell, we have the ego, which is the one that likes all the followers and likes to be seen and likes to be important. And, that's our ego kicking in. It's our protective mechanism. But we've also got the soul, which is our heart, which is our connection to others that doesn't need 100 likes on a post. So this is the poem. Likes feel good, follows and comments too. Nothing wrong with that until it becomes all that we pursue. It can affect our value, but is it true? There's nothing to do, just be you.
Oh, I love that. That's gorgeous. And it's so true.
Yeah, because when we're chasing the ego, when the social media ego, we're often posting things that we think people are going to approve of, because the ego wants approval, right? And it wants those likes and comments and follows because they do feel good. They literally create a dopamine hit in our body. So a lot of people got caught up on chasing the likes and the follows and forgot about the soul of what it was that they were sharing, because everything had just turned into clickbait, essentially.
And is that the message, that it's about being authentic and if you're using it, let's say, as a business tool or even a personal tool, to go back into what it is you want from it and what it is you want to show from it, and sticking to that authentic you?
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, authenticity is a word that I think has got really overused as well, because now people are trying to be authentic, which takes away from authenticity. because we've been told that it works on social media. Oh, if you're authentic, you'll get a lot more likes, clicks, and sales. So then everyone's trying to be overly authentic and overly vulnerable because they've been told it's a great trick to use for social media. So it's like, what is authenticity to you? What is authenticity to me? Authenticity to me is, how do I use social media as a tool to show up in the world in the same way online as I show up in the world offline. So that means, no clever formulas and things. It's like, okay, well, I dress in a certain way. So, I have a certain look and feel in the real world. How does that translate into the way my content looks and feels? How can that be the same look and feel through my content? Okay, so that's an authentic thing to do. Like, what's my tone? Like, how do I speak to others? How can I speak in exactly the same way as I would if I was doing a workshop or on a one-to-one with a client? Or how do I show up in the world? How can I show up exactly in the same way online? And often there's a disconnect between that, because people are showing up in the real world and then showing up quite differently on social media.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've asked myself, certainly over the last sort of month or two, and I looked at my feed, and I like to think of myself as a creative person. I love art, always has ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I have like a picture and then a white quote, and I like the feel and look of it. And it's definitely an artistic expression of myself.
Yeah.
But I've wondered, like, is this right? Is this wrong? I know it feels good, but it's a difficult one. Am I showing up? I mean, I've asked the question, am I showing up authentically? And I think there's a balance between oversharing your deepest, darkest secrets, which not everyone wants to read, and like you say, sometimes I think we've got a bit. We're told, like you say, like, yeah, get really vulnerable and get really authentic, but actually, isn't it? Were you doing that before in your everyday life, or is this something you're doing because you think it will get
I've seen
followers?
it on emails where it's like, let me be vulnerable with you for a moment. And then they tell me like something that I actually didn't really need or want to hear about them privately, in an order to try and get me to open an email or click on a link. And I just think, okay, if I was going to the office every day, which I don't because I'm a solopreneur, I work for myself from home. If I was going to the office, what is it that I would share in the office with my colleagues? Because often it's your colleagues and your community that you're connected to online. It is your clients. It is people who know your clients, or people that, like, we're part of the That Guy's House family. That's like a set of connections. Like, how would I show up physically in that space? I certainly wouldn't start opening a personal box necessarily and telling everybody like things about my personal life, but I will share about my professional life and things that I think and feel around what it is I have to share in the world. So that's how I choose to use social media. I mean, it also depends on the platform. So I will use my Facebook profile. I'll have a slightly different tone on there to, say, my Instagram account, or, my LinkedIn, also quite a different tone to even my Instagram. So it's like thinking about who is it that's here and how am I speaking to these people? Like, my tone on Instagram is quite chatty. That tone doesn't quite translate the same way on LinkedIn.
Yeah, interesting. Tell me, what are your views on the time that we spend on it? Because I read someone's post the other day and they'd taken a break from social media, and they said it really helped them connect with themselves and be present in life. And I thought, well, I don't think I'm on it that much. And I know that there's a button that you can press to see how much on Instagram you are. And I was like, oh, only 34 minutes a day. That's okay. And then I did the maths and I worked out that equates to 2 weeks on Instagram a year. That's a whole holiday. And then I was like, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. What do you think's a balanced amount of time, if any, to be on social media? How do you view that?
I think it's about how productive are you being in that half an hour? So if, yeah, you're spending half an hour a day, but that half an hour a day is benefiting your business, then that's a business tool. And then that's, a valuable thing to spend half an hour on. If you're going on and you're spending that half an hour just aimlessly scrolling and there's not much productivity around it, and that time is actually time that you're then spiraling off into what I call the social media vortex of doom, and that